Hey guys, it's Kaylee Haynes here from Every Branch and Twig, and this is my podcast, Every Branch and Twig Genealogy. I'm a genealogist, a family historian, and a storyteller. I've been on my own journey of finding out my story through doing my genealogy for over 15 years now, and it's my turn to give back to the community. So here's my podcast. I am also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Jump on, have a look, and come and learn from me. I'm going to be sharing my hints and tips, PDFs that I've made, ebooks that I've made, courses that I'm running. Currently in Facebook, I have Genealogy School, which is a membership. You can come and join me, and I will share so much more with you there. But otherwise, stay here, stay tuned, and listen along with me, where I'll update you weekly on things that I have to share. Hello, it's Kaylee here from Every Branch and Twig. So I've been doing my research for over 15 years now, and I've made every mistake that there is. I've been carried away. I've gone through several lines and I've clicked on matches and I've added them, and then something's come up and I've gone, oh, oops, it's all wrong. So mistake number one is presuming that everything online is fact. Number one mistake, starting out with Ancestry.com when I was, I think would have been about 17 years old. Got on Ancestry.com and seen all these family trees and thought, oh my God, look, this person's already done all the information. And I've just gone add. Well, in fact, they hadn't done any research and a lot of it was incorrect. From the tiniest little things like the spelling of a name, through to completely the wrong person, or people living over 200 years old, or having children after they had died. There was lots and lots of mistakes, and so instead of just fixing every little mistake, I had to go back and delete everything and start again. So number one is, do not presume that it is fact, even if it is a document. There is mistakes all the time, transcription errors. So people make these transcriptions, they're human too. So they get things spelt wrong, or they read things wrong, or maybe they're just having an off day and wrote the completely wrong thing. Make sure you're double checking everything. So even though you've read that transcript and yep, it seems all right, yeah, there's a few little mistakes, but go have a look at the actual document, double check it, make sure that it's right. Mistake number two is not writing things down. So my worst crime when first starting out was not making notes of what I had found and what searches I had already made that had come up with nothing. So little tiny things like from stories, negative searches, it's like where I got the documentary evidence from. I used to say all the time, I'll remember that. Yep, I'll remember that. Oh yeah, that's easy. I'll remember that one. Never, ever did I remember it. So it's an imperative to make these notes on your failures as much as your successes. That way, when you return to the search months or years later, you have a clear understanding of what you've searched for. And then where you've already looked. You're not redoing the work that you've already done, saving yourself time and making your work more effective. Even those notes from stories from relatives that you think might not even be significant, years later, it might actually turn out that they are. So make sure you write it down anyway. Like, what's a little note? Get on to Evernote and keep it in there. Who knows? It might come in handy later on. Mistake number three is only using birth, deaths, and marriages. So family history was not just restricted to birth, deaths, and marriage information. 15 years ago, I found myself looking at a chart of names and dates. That was it. So improve your tree, add some context to it, find out where they lived, find some newspaper clippings and some stories, like were they in court, did they get in trouble with the law, what did they do for a job, where did they live, what, local maps of where they lived, lots of different information and different contexts that you can add. So definitely look further than just the names and the dates. Mistake number four is trying to do everything yourself. There's people out there, genealogists, that specialize in specific areas. So don't try and do it yourself. If it's too hard, you come up to this brick wall again and again and again, put your hand up. go and find someone that's willing to give you a helping hand. Most genealogists out there have been in your position. They know what it's like to be stuck, and they would have appreciated the help too. So they obviously are willing to give that help to you. So, and they're very helpful to newcomers. So if it is something that you need a little helping hand on, whether it be adoption or convicts or immigration, or maybe you've got family from Asia or Poland or Germany and you don't know where to search, there's someone out there that actually does. So go and find them. Jump on Facebook. There's lots of Facebook groups out there. There's genealogy in Australia. There's quite a few. If you look up the country and pop in genealogy, there will be a group for them most probably. So jump on there. Also, just jump on Google. There will be threads. Ancestry.com has a thread, so you can jump on there and jump on their message board and contact these people and get some help, because there's absolutely no shame in asking for help. You don't need to do it all yourself. Mistake number 5 is having no research strategy. I did a unit in my genealogy school that I run, and this was one of the top topics. So having a plan to your research, so a research strategy, it's to keep you on focus, keep you on track to answer the questions that you're looking at. Figure out what your question is. What is it that you want to know? Come up with your question, then come up with possible searches that you can make to find that information. Where would you look? Write all this information down. So make it a plan. Write it down. Then when you're in there doing the trees and you come up with these hints and you find out that so-and-so lived in so-and-so and oh, that's interesting, and you start going off track, you can look back at this plan and go, oh, that's right. All right, just make this note. I need to go look into this country or whatever it is. So, whatever it is that seems interesting, write it down and you can go back another time and have a look at it. But stay on track with what it is that you want to get focused and get that information on at that time. And then you've got these notes of all these other searches that you can be doing later on too. So definitely have a plan to keep your goals checked off. All right, so mistake number 6 is not revising the work I've already done. So go back every few years and check, because records are becoming available every month. New records are entered. Every year, new records are entered. Going back and just double checking. We've got probably the last 3 or 4 generations, and information on them is becoming more and more accessible. So I know, for instance, my partner's grandfather, he was born in 1917, so 2 years ago. More information on him came out because it was the 100-year mark. So there is more information jumping up all the time online, especially. So go back, double check, and also when you're doing it, double check for errors. You never know. Like my grandparents' wedding date was missing on my own family tree, whereas I had all their great grandparents' wedding dates, but I didn't have theirs. So little bits like that. Make sure that you've got it all there. Make sure it's all in order, and like I said, adding the new information as well. Mistake number 7 is not looking offline. Obviously, the internet is convenient and a fantastic tool, but there's so many sources out there that we can access. So plan a trip to your local archive office or local courts, whatever it is that you're looking for. So local Bethesda marriages, if that's where you need to go, although majority of them are online. But go and have a look. Local libraries even. Go down, do your homework, because some of these places will require you to order your records before you go down. But having these records there and actually going through the archives and the microfiche, there's so much out there that you can find that's not online. And there's sitting there and touching a wedding certificate or a birth certificate or whatever it is, seeing that in the flesh, like in real time, and touching it, and it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. There's nothing like it. So yeah, go down to your local library or your local society and see what you can find. Mistake number 8 is not walking in their footsteps. So get outside and explore. My ancestors, a lot of them come from Ballarat, or were in the Ballarat area. So go down. It's like a 2 or 3 hour drive for me. I'm going to go down there quite very soon, and walking down the street and imagining that they're across the road, or walking to a shop and thinking, oh, wow, they could have been walking into this shop 100 years ago, or, whatever it is. Like, there's nothing like it. It's just one of those feelings, very much like when you're touching the old documents. It's one of those feelings you imagine being there, being in that time, doing what they were doing. So that, yeah, definitely so much to see. And check out the local societies while you're there, because they might have something on your ancestors that you didn't know. Mistake number 9 is inflexibility on names. This is a subject I actually just ran today in genealogy school. Is it the various spellings? So think outside the box. Obviously, people were illiterate. People didn't go by their the name that was on their birth certificate, and it wasn't law. You didn't have to. So they could be going by their middle name. They could be going by a name that's a shortening, such as Ned Kelly. And Ned is short for Edward. Things like this. Even the surnames. There's different patterns, different cultures. Different cultures have different patterns, and different countries also. We hear of John Smith, who had his first son was John, and his first son was John, and his first son was John. Can be the same on the maternal line as well. Or even the mother's maiden name being used as a middle name. That's a pattern. So look for these patterns, and use those wildcards. So wildcards are when you're doing a search, you can pop in a question mark or pop the word in quotation marks in your searches, will help you to find more. And if you do find a record by a different name, just by accident maybe, use that different spelling in your next searches. So be flexible, think outside the box. If you're looking for a specific person and you come across the person of the same name in the same town, differentiate them by their occupations, or find them on the local census. Who were they living with? Who were they living in the next year? It's not very common for them to make such a big change unless something drastic happened in their life at the time, such as like when moving from living with their wife and children to all of a sudden being a boarder in another person's house. So that can happen, obviously, but it wasn't something that happened all the time. So you won't find it with every ancestor. And mistake number 10 is not giving back. So we're all guilty of using all these transcriptions and all the inscriptions and the indexes and the archives that all these volunteers do. They spend so much time putting all this information out there and making it free and accessible for us on the internet. So why not give back to them? Go down to your local society or your local library or museum and give back to the genealogy communities that are out there. There's also a lot of projects online that you can do. You can jump on Google, pop in genealogy projects or transcription projects. They're major ones, and they will send you a bunch of documents and they'll ask you to transcribe them. So definitely something that you can do in your spare time if that's what you want to do, and definitely recommend it because it's going to help you out as well. So reading these documents over and over and over going to give you a better understanding on the writing of the time, and also like what was happening in those times. You're going to see the different occupations that were around at specific years, and in specific towns. It's going to give you more of a sense on general history background. So they are my top 10 tips, or top 10 mistakes, I should say, on genealogy. Over the last 15 or so years of me doing my genealogy, these are the top 10 mistakes that I made. And hopefully this podcast has helped you to not make the same mistakes that I made. Thank you for listening. Please check out my socials. I'm on Facebook, Insta, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also check out my website over at www.everybranchandtwig.com. Speak to you soon.